I'm here with the St. Pius legend, Mr. Taylor. And can you just give us a quick overview of your time here at St. Pius?
Graduated from college in 1978. I started teaching here in 1978. I was 22 years old. And I taught with quite a few teachers who were original teachers at St. Pius. The school started in 1959. Some interesting facts about that first year was that the school didn't start with 4 classes. It started with their freshman class, and then the next year they added sophomores, etc. So the first graduating class was 1963. And that first year, they only used the first floor of the school. The rest of the school wasn't finished yet, and they went the entire year without heat. I don't know exactly how that worked, but I've heard that from numerous people. Father Dalton came midway through the first year. Father Deutschman was the president, and Sister Margarita was a teacher here, music teacher here, and later she was the principal. She's the principal that hired me. Also Ralph Boyer, who the gym is named after, he was the original PE teacher, and he may have taught some science early on too. So I knew a lot of those original people. I mean, when I came to school, I wasn't 20 years old. And so they didn't keep a lot of stuff from those early years because it just didn't hit them. I wish they would have. I wish they would have kept like sports uniforms and stuff like that. When I came here, I was the freshman basketball coach, and we were playing in some of the original uniforms that St. Pius had with the super short shorts, etc. And they had these really strange woolly warm-up jackets. They looked old even in 1978. You would have guessed that they were old. But there were still things, for instance, the gym floor was still tile. The original brown floor, there were parts of the floor where you could still see that. About a year or two before I came, the gym flooded, and they had to replace it with the lighter tile that was there until they put the wood floor in. So anyway, Barb Charbonneau was a student who went to school with some of those original people. She was not in the first class, but I think Portel's dad, Mr. Portel's dad, may have been in that very first class.
And do you know how many students were in that first class?
I don't know how many students were in the first class. It was probably around 100. I don't know that.
When you first came in 78, what was Pius like at the time?
It was pretty different from now. There were, first of all, we had nuns. There were priests. There were 4 or 5 nuns. There were several priests. The dress codes, the boys had to always wear ties. I hated that. As a teacher, it was the age of polyester. So lots of polyester. It's changed in ways it would. I think in those days, the students were much more on their own. That's the way school was when I went to school, and it was the way school was then. I think there's just much more help for people who struggle now. St. Pius's attendance was so big at that time that they really didn't mind, oddly, if people left. And the first year was almost kind of like a weeding out year. When I say there was 100 people, by the time I got here, we often had classes of 150, 170 when they started as freshmen. And not just St. Pius, but schools in general, it's just they didn't help students to the extent that they do now. And I feel bad about that now, except nobody even gave it a thought at the time that I know of. When I was a student, it would have helped me.
So I know you mentioned earlier that you coached basketball. But did you coach any other sports while you were here?
I coached basketball for about the first 15 years I was here. I coached freshmen. I coached JV. I was the girls' varsity coach for a couple of years. I replaced Sharb. Then I went back to the boys. I coached baseball. I was a JV coach for baseball and the head baseball coach for a couple of years. And then I coached softball for quite a while with Sharb and then with Kevin Halley as an assistant coach and a head coach and then an assistant coach. So those were the sports that I was involved in.
So now looking back to when you were a student, what was your favorite class?
Me?
Yes.
My favorite class was always history. It's odd that I didn't become a history teacher. I was by far better in history than anything else. When I was in college, I took some English classes where everybody just kind of sat around and talked casually, informally about the things they read, and I loved that. And at the last moment, it kind of steered me over to English. I'm glad I made that decision. But if you would have known me growing up, if I would have said I was going to be a teacher, it would have been a foregone conclusion I'd be a history teacher. It's what I liked best, and it was what I was best at.
So you mentioned that you were an English teacher for a little bit. Did you teach any other classes while you were here?
I've always been in the English department. When I first came, we did so many different things. When I came in '78, there was a whole group of teachers. We were in our 20s still. And almost everybody was even single at the time. And our whole lives were built around the school. We came to all the sporting events. We came to all the extracurriculars, all the dances. I DJ'd dances. We did the breakfasts. Our lives were built around St. Pius. And like on the weekends or on snow days, we came out and played basketball and opened the gym up. And it was something, if somebody would say, why have you stayed here for so long? What was built into me in those early years was the sense of community. With the teachers and with the students. There are numerous students that I stayed friends with and was close to down through the years. And I could have made a lot more money if I had been in a public school, but I wouldn't make that trade. The community at Pius was always the thing that was really important to me and made me want to stay.
So it sounds like that you have some good relationships with fellow teachers here. Do you still have any relationships to this day with them?
Well, all those people that I was originally with, like Marty Zlanko, Rick Overberg, Dan Bokern, Ron Navratil, all of those people, I would still call them friends. Dick McCurry, the longtime music teacher. I spent tons of time with Dick in the 80s listening to music and watching movies, etc. I grew up about 50 minutes from here over in Illinois, so this became my new home, And I've always lived within 10 minutes of St. Pius. I've always lived in Crystal City, so it was just always easy for me to be out here doing things and being with people. And it became my social life, and just, it's one of the reasons I've always loved it. And still to this day, there are teachers I'm really close to and I really like. So that's always been an important part.
So now to go back on more of the sports topic. When you first came in '78 to now, how have the sports really changed?
I think one of the biggest changes is the girls. The girls are so much stronger and more athletic, and they've grown up in an environment where they are allowed to be competitive. I think that was always seen as a non-feminine trait. And there was a time where the competitive girls had a lot of trouble with other girls, because they saw them as being kind of mean or something because of their competitiveness. Girls start playing sports when boys do now. And that's been a big change that has happened during that time. Even though when I came in the late 70s, we had good girls teams because we had a bunch of really good athletes during that time period. And that was one of the fun things for me because I was not around female sports when I was over in Illinois. We hardly had girl sports. I did not grow up with girls who played sports. And so when I came here, I really enjoyed that. Some of your aunts, Patrick Flanagan, were some of the people that were those athletes and that I was close to.
How has the school physically changed since you've gotten here?
I love this question because every once in a while I go through the school with someone from the past, and you can't believe how many things have changed. It's more strange to point to something that hasn't changed. The doors and the doorknobs are getting to be some of the last things left. Everything has been painted or replaced, or so many things have changed. The physical plant around the school, when I came here, there were almost no trees on the campus. And as a matter of fact, these trees out back I helped plant with Mr. Overberg. And it's going to change again when this new property comes in, but just the looks of the physical campus is really different, and the school is too. We're sitting in a room right now that used to go all the way back over there. It was the library, and now it's split up into 3 different rooms. There's just a lot of things that have changed. There are very few things that haven't changed.
So I got one more question for you, and this is kind of a big question. So you had the opportunity to retire and be done teaching, but what made you stay?
Well, first of all, young people imagine retirement as being like vacation. Like you can sit in a chair and drink Bloody Marys all day or something. You can't turn that into your life. You have to do something. And I happen to be lucky enough that my situation is just fantastic. I get to teach my film class, which I love, and it's not taxing. And subbing is a lot less stressful than teaching. Last year, I had to teach about the last 5 weeks of the year, and I realized that I got out of full-time teaching at the right time. I was exhausted after every day. And that just happens slowly and surely. When I was 64, it was like, ooh, no problem. But then it just, after 65, almost every year takes a little something from you. And what you realize is the enormous amount of energy it takes to teach each day, and the patience it takes. And when you get away from that for a while and then you go back and do it, it really reminds you of that.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.